Hey, Elie Mystal, how are you?
It's like every time I eat a donut, Trump commits more crime. And then somebody mentions that he commit, and I'm just trying to eat my donut, and Trump out here just committing all these crimes. I don't even think people are paying attention to all the crimes by the former president. I'm not paying attention. I'm just trying to eat my donut.
Wow. This is the magic of Elie Mystal. This is how.
What was that?
This is how I know.
Yes,
this.
people are paying attention
Yes.
to the former president who's committing crimes and getting indicted. Yes,
It's
that's a
clearly
news story.
caused by donuts. Yes, that's clearly what's
His
happening.
Comer impression is better than your Tina Turner impression. I'll just tell you that right now, Stephanie.
That's because I did need another hero. I don't need another hero.
No, don't.
I need Elie Mystal. Listen, Elie. I feel like there's been so much losing. So, judge rejects Trump's bid to toss E. Jean Carroll. Verdict says, yes, you are a rapist. Trump criminal case over Stormy Daniels' payment stays in state court. So much losing. Just yesterday, right?
Yeah, I think the thing that I want to say is that Trump has put our nation through a real eye opener of the different levels of justice that you have if you're rich, white, and powerful, right? Like, I think most black people knew that already. I think some white people were aware of that. And now you have to have your head completely in the sand to be unaware of how different the criminal justice system works depending on your wealth and power. Whether or not anybody wants to change that is kind of a question is the next question for us. Like, at some point, Trump will go away. I don't know when and I don't know how, but I know that, the frailty of human life suggests that he will not live forever. So at some point, as a nation, as a polity, we have to decide if we want to continue to allow this two-tier justice system to work. And so I always go back, Stephanie, and I know it's going to sound like I can't get over it, but I always go back to the Democrats winning the House, winning the Senate, winning the White House in 2020, and promising to put forward H.R. 1, right? The massive ethics reform bill that would really criminalize some of these corrupt politicians, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big push, and we didn't get it because Cole Manchin and Kristen Pfizer Cinema, right? And I haven't heard about it since.
Her middle name is Pfizer.
Right?
I did not know. Thank you. Making a note.
Right? Kristen Cinema presented by Eli Lilly. Right? And at some point, we have to return to that, right? We have to return to HR 1. We have to, I would argue, add Supreme Court justices to the people that we are criminalizing. And we need to get back to a point where we as Democrats are trying very hard to push actual ethics reform throughout the system to stop not Donald Trump, but to stop the next Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, and I made, to your point, I said exactly that yesterday about this whole, which charges will he be charged with on this particular thing, and maybe they'll narrow. And I said, I don't remember black people ever getting the benefit of, which crime should we charge and which maybe shouldn't we? Right? Like, they generally throw all of them,
yes,
every crime you've committed, right?
All of them, and let the devil sort it out, is the kind of criminal justice that most black people in this country face. And the difference between black and white is that, if you're white, I think what I'm trying to say is that you can buy yourself out of some of this. If you're black, you really can.
I was glad that, because I thought I was, as a woman, taking crazy pills on this rape thing. This was from this trial. The finding that Ms. Carroll failed to prove that she was raped, quote unquote, within the meaning of the New York penal law. Penal. Does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump, quote unquote, raped her as many people commonly understand the word rape. Indeed, as evidence of the trial recounted below makes clear, the jury found that Mr. Trump, in fact, did exactly that. So this whole, I was found innocent. No, you're a rapist, period. And yeah.
Illegally inserted something that without consent. And it's
thank you.
And I think the other thing that really kind of irks me about that whole the difference between the legalist definition of it and the colloquial definition of it, if you will, is that I feel like it's very easier for the media, especially for the male media, to just miss the point of consent, right? Like people act like it, like the thing that's actually is violative there is that he did whatever he did it without her consent.
Thank you. Forcefully.
And like,
that's
yes, enough.
Forcibly.
That's enough to be a horrible criminal freaking person, right?
Yeah.
Like once you do the thing without consent, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
And like,
so Elie,
you stop there.
You and I have both Veruca salted about the pace of justice for Donald Trump that makes us Veruca salt and pepper. Thank you. However, I think he's about to get indicted a third time. I think we can be pretty certain of that. What do you? I mean, where are you with this latest, the J6? Everything we've learned, the Target letter. Just give us a roundup of how you're legally looking at all this.
Look, I think I've said before, I think I was wrong about Jack Smith. I thought Jack Smith would come out here like another Bob Mueller. And I think I was wrong about that. I think Jack Smith has been doing everything right. He's been acting expeditiously. He is buttoned up. He's not a Bob Mueller. He's not a James Comey either, right? And so like I think he's been the prosecutor that we've needed for these cases. I wish we had him a year and a half ago, right? I wish he had been allowed to start earlier. And so one of the problems we're going to run into is that, yes, Trump, I believe, will be indicted for J6. I think that is clearly coming now. I don't think you send the Target letter to Donald Trump and then not indict him. I think that we are going to have some indictments before the end of the summer, most likely against Donald Trump. However, again, just like with the espionage stuff, like how long does it take to go from indictments and charges to a trial? How long does it take to go from a trial to conviction? How long does it take to go from conviction to sentencing? And you put that all in the hopper, and I still believe that what you have is a situation where Donald Trump will not be held accountable for these charges and crimes until after the 2024 presidential election. Which means if he wins the 2024 presidential election, he'll get off scot-free again.
Well,
and so
except some of these are state, obviously, and he cannot be pardoned. So it's the confluence of all of the cases that makes me hopeful.
A state trooper from Georgia is not arresting the president of the United States, right? Like that's also not going to happen, right? So like if he can clothe himself in the power of the presidency once again, he will escape accountability for all of these charges. And he'll get to try before any of the accountability comes to him. And so the upshot is we have to beat him at the polls again before we can put him in jail where he deserves. And that, I think, is a failure of justice. I don't think that it should have ever gotten to that point. I think that he should be – I'm not saying that he could have run from president from jail, but he needed to be running for president from jail, and that's now not going to happen.
Thank you for my sphincter snapping shot, which will not reopen now until well after we defeat Donald Trump in 2024. This is the worst sequel ever. To your point about two systems of justice, this tweet I say for you, Tim tweeted, not enough is being, oh, sorry, wait a minute, hang on, that's not the one. This is a hopeful one. Not enough is being reported about the news that the charges against Trump may include 18 U.S.C. 242 charge of deprivation of rights under color of law. It's a big one. The guidelines show that this charge could be the one that puts Trump in prison, possibly for life. I am still hopeful, Elie Mystal. Do you not have a sliver of hope?
No, yeah. Look, if we defeat him, if we beat him at the election, then I do think that tiny little handcuffs are waiting for him on the other end, and that's like what didn't happen last time, right? So we beat him in 2020, and there were no handcuffs waiting for him in 2021. I think this time, if we beat him in 2024, there will be handcuffs waiting for him in 2025, right? So I think that perhaps we needed two shots at the apple, but the upshot is that if he can actually be defeated at the polls, then yes, I think all of this legal stuff crashes down on his head, and he ends up most likely in jail. Not for look, he's not going to Rikers. He's not going to San Quentin. You're not going to have to shave his head and join a gang. But he will go to some club-fed jail. And I said, he's already a very old man, so who knows for how long.
And you and I will host the MSNBC prison block that will go all weekend, every weekend, with just you and I taunting him outside his jail cell.
I mean, I honestly kind of want them. I would be willing to put money in Trump's commissary account if there was just a live feed of him having to get it, right? Like, right, like that would be worth like the $10 for me.
Here's the tweet.
But that's all a 2025 kind of wish, right?
All
that's
right.
all.
Well,
I don't think that happens in 2024.
We'll see. Okay. Here's the tweet I saved to your point of two systems of justice. Andrew tweeted, being able to ask a judge that you appointed to delay your trial for stealing classified and top secret documents so that you can run for an office that you also tried to steal is not political persecution. It is the definition of social, political, and economic privilege. Thank you. To your point.
So one of the most radical reforms that I am in favor of that I can't get anybody else to agree with is that the president, who we know the president has the appointment power of federal judges. A federal judge that the president appointed should not be able to hear a case, should have to recuse themselves from any cases involving president personally for sure. But I think I would go as far as to like that president's administration, right? Like you shouldn't be able to hear Biden v. Nebraska if you were appointed by Biden. You shouldn't be able to hear Trump v. Hawaii if you were appointed by Trump. Like that should just be a basic kind of rule. The judges that you personally appoint can't sit in judgment of your cases in your trial. We have enough judges to do the rest to avoid that, you know? So we should just do that.
So before we go, obviously you write so eloquently about the Supreme Court and corruption there. You retweeted Alice, who said the court took a break after another plaintiff, Samantha Cassiano, vomited while describing what she went through when she was denied an abortion after her baby was diagnosed with I can't say it. You know what it is. She said she had to watch her baby die after giving birth. And you just said, don't look away. This is the world Republicans on the Supreme Court have created. And your latest piece, just up this morning, you said the Supreme Court corruption scandals should be a bigger political issue. The political media should be hounding these corrupt judges, and Democrats should put them front and center during the election. I will admit, because it came out seconds ago, I did not read it, much like Larry King, who never read any book of anyone he ever had on. I will just say, so you wrote a piece. Tell us about it, Elie. It's a book about something.
I'll start with the abortion story, because I think it's people are suffering.
Yes.
People are dying. And people are suffering and dying because of 6 conservatives on the Supreme Court. And I do not intend to let anybody forget that. And I would like it if the media would not let anybody forget that. Not just forget what's happening, but forget who did this. Because this is not an act of nature. This is not a natural disaster, right? This is a political choice by 6 Republicans who are unaccountable and unelected. And there must be political consequences for the people who support those 6 Republicans, right?
Yeah.
And that is the more important story, but that kind of bleeds into the piece that I just wrote about the general corruption scandal. You know, Clarence Thomas, whatever Venmo account he just got, you know, there's new scandal with him every day. The idea that this shouldn't be treated as a political story is just freaking wrong. These judges are corrupt. Most Americans do not like corruption. We started this conversation, Stephanie, about H.R. 1. That was popular, right? And so once again, the media and the Democrats cannot let people look away, right? It's not just ProPublica's job, right? If Clarence Thomas is on summer vacation right now, do we know where he is? Do we know who he's hanging out with? Do we know what yacht he's on? No, because the New York Times hasn't made 5 reporters go follow that guy in snorkel gear, which is what they would do if it was Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
Right? So
he's with his insurrectionist wife who's balls deep in the fake elector scandal. But that's just a side note. Sidebar, counselor.
Right? So we need continuous, not just episodic. We need continuous coverage of the harm and the death and the tragedy that the Supreme Court is causing, and the corruption and the corrupt influences that they're being that are encouraging them to cause this damage. That's my point.
Thank you for existing, Elie Mystal. Thank you for allowing us to play the Travis is Leaving, My Mom Died. Please come on the show, even though I know you're really busy card. We appreciate it.
Condolences.
We are above nothing.
He has a new podcast.
My condolences for you, Stephanie, for your mom. I know that's really tough. My dad passed away about 5 years ago on Thanksgiving, so it's it still stings. Yeah. And Travis, I can't believe you're. My condolences to you, Stephanie, for Travis leaving.
I know. Yeah. Can you believe this bastard at the
right?
timing of this
fine.
bastard?
It's us
yeah.
that we have to stay behind.
But more importantly, Elie has a new podcast to promote too. Contempt of Court.
Hooray!
This is a limited series, guys. Get on this.
Read him in The Nation. Watch him on MSNBC. Get the podcast. Elie, thanks so much, honey. Love you.
Thank you, Elie.
Talk to you guys later.
All
Bye.
right, bye. 50 minutes after the hour. This portion of the show brought to you by Field of Greens. Look at that. It's